Hello boys. So this particular video is meant for the boys of class 9 A, B and C of St. Augustine School, and in this video we'll be discussing about how to go about with your project. Now the project on English literature, as I've already given you the topics which is there in your WhatsApp, okay, I've shared it in your WhatsApp and also be shared in the school website. Okay, so the question says, like, let's say for Merchant of Venice play Merchant of Venice, the questions are, there are 6 questions altogether. Merchant of Venice from your poetry and your short stories. Alright, so out of the 6 questions you will only have to do 3, which means like you'll have to do 1 question from each of the sections. Alright, so let's discuss. We will slowly discuss the questions, and I'll also explain how to go about it. Let's say for example, now Merchant of Venice play, there are two sets of questions, which says, the first question says, write a character sketch on each of the following characters. There are 7 characters altogether, okay? Antonio, Bassanio, Portia, Graciano, Shylock, Nerissa and Jessica. Now, you don't have an option to choose any of the characters. If you choose this question, you will have to do all 7 characters. Did you get it? Okay. All 7 characters should be done if you choose question number 1. But there's an option. There's an option in this question, in this section. It says, the second question says, pick 2 interesting historical allusions from Act 1, Act 2 and Act 3. So there are 3 acts and numerous historical allusions, alright, in different scenes. Now from there, you will have to pick out 2 historical allusions. All right, historical allusions means a short reference of any of the history that is mentioned in the play. So for example, like there is the story of Jason, isn't it? Jason and Colchis and the ram. Okay, so the golden ram. So you can choose any of these, all right, like the wealthy Andrew from Act 1, Scene 1, okay. So you can choose from any of these, all right, and you'll have to do two historical allusion, picking out any from Act 1, 2, and 3. So, and then you'll have to write in detail about the historical details and its reference. Why is it referred in the scene? Alright, so if you talk about, let's say for example, if you talk about Jason, okay, if you talk about Jason, like what is the reference? Why does, Jason and the golden ram, why does Bassanio compare Portia to the golden ram? You know, and why does he also compare the place Belmont to Colchis? So this is known as the reference in the scene, and you'll have to give out the details, meaning to say that what is the story behind this historical allusion. Okay, so there are 2 questions from the play Merchant of Venice, and you can pick out 1 and write down in detail. Now the next section B, is poetry. And now in this poetry, all right, there are two questions again. Now question number 1 says, write down the summary, theme and the message of the poem after Blenheim. Now you'll have to write down the summary. Okay, summary, you can copy it from somewhere, like let's say for example, if you have a guidebook, but do not lift lines exactly from the guidebook. Like if you're copying it, you'll have to at least understand what you're writing, isn't it? So there you'll have to write down a summary. So there has to be an introduction, body and a conclusion. Okay, so in this case, now you write down the introduction. All right, introduction of the poem, that is after Blenheim. Then you'll write down the summary, then you will write down the theme, and lastly you will write down the message, and you will also write down the conclusion for this particular question. All right, and same goes with other questions also. If you're doing Merchant of Venice also, you'll have to have an introduction, body and a conclusion. So now the other question from this section is, how does Sarojini Naidu show the vibrancy of an Indian culture through her poem Bangle Sellers? Alright, so if here you will also have to write down the myriad of colors that she talks about in the poem, also trying to highlight highlight the importance of these little, you can say, these little jewelry. It's a piece of jewelry, and how it adorns a woman's isn't it? So in this case, you can talk about the importance of bangles and in a lady, in a woman's life, in an Indian culture. And through this also, you can also see like you can also see other customs of an Indian culture. Like for example, the Indian market. All right, how does these vendors sell their products? They sell their wares. Now besides this, now we'll go to the next question, that is next section, that is section C, which happens to be a short stories. Now for short stories, question number 1 says, read the story Chief Seattle's speech and write down a comprehensive summary on it. You just have to write down what the story is all about. Now in this, when you're writing this also, you'll have to write an introduction, body and a conclusion. Okay, so it is going to be quite a comprehensive writing. So, or there's an option which says, read the story Angel in Disguise and write down a comprehensive summary on it. So you'll have to do the same for the next question also, but there is a choice. You will have to choose either of the two questions and write it down in a proper manner. All right, introduction, body and a conclusion. Now next thing what we are going to discuss is, how long is your writing material going to be. So the writing material, let's say now till last year, like it should not be less than 20 pages. So looking at the constraints of many things that we are facing today because of the pandemic, and things have changed. So we have limited the writing material to 15 pages. All right, so it should not be less than that, 15 pages. Now where are you supposed to do it? You are supposed to do it in a physical paper like this. You have this lab notebook. Okay, so here you have these pages, right? You get this in the shops. Okay, so you'll have to make a project like this. This is economics. This is a project on economics, but just to make you understand what a project should look like, it should look like this, with proper cover. All right, with proper, you have this cover put on. You have to put on proper cover. It has to be neat because it will go to the council. There's going to be an external examiner and an internal examiner who's going to correct it. Okay, so it has to be presentable. So please boys, make sure that your work is presentable and neat and tidy, and it should look like work that is coming from a Smithsonian. So make it look very, very up to the mark. So here in the first page, all right, in the first page you will write down the content. You will have serial number, topic and page numbers. Okay, so you'll have 3. Did you see this? Okay, so you'll have serial number, you'll write down the topic and page number, which page number you'll find this, and for that you will need to number your pages. Did you get that? You'll have to number each and every page. And when you let's say now when you start writing it, now the next page will have something like, you will have to write down the question on the first page. Which question are you answering? Let's say for example, for Merchant of Venice, you are answering the first question, that is write a character sketch on each of the following characters, the 7 characters. All right, so you'll have to write down the question in the first page, in this page, and then you will begin writing in the next page. Did you understand? So here you will have to make sure it has to be very properly mentioned which question you are doing, all right, and which section is this and which book it is. That is, if this is play, you'll have to write down play and then the question, so that we will understand that this particular child has written this particular question. Okay, so now when you finish that, let's say for example you finished that in 4 pages or 5 pages. Okay, you took 4 to 5 pages to write that particular answer. Then you go to a new page and you take a new page, alright. Again, on it, you will have to write down the question, the next question, that is the poetry, from the poetry section. Now you'll have to write down poetry and write down the question that you have chosen. Let's say, for example, you chose the second question from the poetry section, which says, how does Sarojini Naidu show the vibrancy of an Indian culture through the poem Bangle Sellers? So write down the question on that page and then start answering it in the next page. Let's say, for example, again, you took 3 to 4 pages to write that answer, okay, with introduction, body and conclusion. And again, you have finished that question and you want to move on to section C. You'll have to do the same. You'll have to write down section C, write down short stories, and if you choose to do the first question, you'll have to write down the question, that is, read the story, Chief Seattle's speech, and write down a comprehensive summary on it. And then next page again, you'll have to start writing the answer. Now let's say, for example, you have finished writing it again in 6 to 7 pages. Alright, now when you finish writing in 6 to 7 pages, because that might vary. Some of you may have big handwriting, you know, legible. Some might just be scribbling. So some of you might take more pages to write your answers in. Some of you might take less pages. So, but then make sure that your project does not finish in 3 pages, okay? So it has to be at least minimum, I'm telling you, minimum is in 15 pages. Minimum 15 pages. Maximum you can go up to any number of pages that you would like to. And now when you finish writing your project, the last page. Okay, the last page is going to be a bibliography. Now bibliography, what is bibliography is, you'll have to come down to the last page. Now what is bibliography is, the names of the books that you have referred to while doing your project. Okay, so it has to be written down as bibliography on the top, and number 1 if you have referred to, let's say, for example, the textbook of Merchant of Venice. So let's say the name of the book is the textbook of Merchant of Venice. Okay, so you'll have to write down a textbook on Merchant of Venice and who is the author dash, you'll have to write down the author's name. So that is going to be a bibliography. Now some of you may have even referred to the class notes to do your work, isn't it? So you can even write down bibliography, okay, reference class notes. Okay, but bibliography means you will only have to write down the name of the books that you have referred to while doing your project. Okay, so if in case you have referred to any of the class notes while doing the project, you can write that in the end, reference class notes. Okay, so that is there, and this is how you have to do. So you'll have to submit it on 20th, not later than that, because we'll have to start with your corrections as well. So okay, so good luck, boys. So I hope you all understood. If you haven't understood still about how to go about with the project, you can always feel free to call us and to clear your doubts about how to go about with your project. Thank you so much.